Very good afternoon. We are live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Indian President Draupadi Murmu inaugurates two-day international conference cum exhibition on aerospace and aviation in 2047 in New Delhi, commemorating 75 years of excellence in aerospace and aviation. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi says Global South is ready to take big responsibility on global issues. He says 2 summits in a year echo call for autonomy and global influence. First consignment of fuel entered Gaza from Egypt after Israel agreed to allow limited deliveries to end communications blackout. Finland closes Russia border posts to stem migrant inflow. And the International Court of Justice orders Azerbaijan to ensure the safety of Nagorno-Karabakh people. All right, now news in detail. We'll start with the top story. India's President Draupadi Murmu inaugurated the two-day international conference cum exhibition on aerospace and aviation in 2047 in New Delhi on Saturday. The conference is being organized by the Aeronautical Society of India, which is AESI, at Yashobhoomi Convention Centre to commemorate 75 years of excellence of the AESI. The inaugural session includes release of compendium on 75 years of India's aviation journey. The event will showcase achievements, technological advancements and the role of great visionaries. And 1,500 delegates are attending the event, including dignitaries, international experts, scientists, students and academia. About 200 industries and micro, small and medium enterprises, including more than 75 startups, will participate in the event. The two-day conference will consist of technical sessions with industry experts and scientists. The event will also feature a startup challenge where finalists will present their innovative ideas and products for India's aerospace growth by 2047.
The Aeronautical Society of India, on its 75th anniversary, is introducing the Startup Quest 2023, which offers up to rupees 2 lakhs each prototype grant to 3 innovative startups. This is a praiseworthy and admirable step for nurturing, identifying, and promoting talent. I commend the entire aerospace and aviation community for their efforts and contribution to the Amritkal vision of the technology-driven and knowledge-based economy.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi says Global South is ready to take big responsibilities on global issues. Speaking at the concluding leaders session of the second Voice of Global South Summit in New Delhi, PM Modi said 2 summits of the Global South in a year sent a big message to the world that the Global South wants its voice should be heard on global governance.
एक साल के भीतर ग्लोबल साउथ की 2 समिट होना और उसमें बड़ी संख्या में आप सभी का जुड़ना अपने आप में दुनिया के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा मैसेज है। ये मैसेज है कि ग्लोबल साउथ अपनी ऑटोनॉमी चाहता है। ये मैसेज है कि ग्लोबल साउथ ग्लोबल गवर्नेंस में अपनी आवाज चाहता है। ये मैसेज है कि ग्लोबल साउथ वैश्विक मामलों में बड़ी जिम्मेदारी लेने के लिए तैयार है। एक्सेलेंसी, आज इस समिट ने हमें एक बार फिर अपनी साझा अपेक्षाओं और आकांक्षाओं पर चर्चा करने का अवसर दिया है.
And Prime Minister Modi has also spoken about environment conservation. He stressed on the need to make environment justice, shared responsibility and strength the base of climate action. He also emphasized that Global South should keep them away from trap of debt to keep their sovereignty.
डेवलपमेंट फाइनेंस के लिए हम कंसल्टेटिव, डिमांड ड्रिवन और पीपल सेंट्रिक प्रयासों को प्राथमिकता देते हैं. ये अनिवार्य है कि ग्लोबल साउथ के देश डेट ट्रैप में न फंसे, किसी भी देश की संप्रभुता कमजोर न हो.
Indian Foreign Secretary Vinay Mohan Quatra, speaking at a media briefing on Friday, talked about the second voice of the Global South Summit. He said that the second edition of the summit picked up the momentum of the first edition.
Building on the momentum of the achievements of the first Global South Summit with the strong leadership of Honorable Prime Minister, it was decided to hold this second summit, Voice of Global South Summit today. The summit, like the first summit, had leader sessions, the inaugural and the concluding sessions, and also the 8 ministerial sessions, which included 2 sessions of the foreign ministers, one devoted to the larger developments around the world and how they impact Global South, and second more on developmental agenda of the Global South. There were also 1 ministerial sessions each of education, finance, environment, energy, health and commerce.
Update now on Israel-Hamas conflict. The first consignment of fuel entered Gaza from Egypt late on Friday after Israel agreed to a U.S. request to allow limited deliveries to end a communications blackout that has halted 8 convoys for 2 days. The U.S. government has said that the agreement amounts to around 140,000 litres every 2 days, 120,000 of which will be used to fuel aid vehicles and other humanitarian efforts, with the remainder to power communication networks. Meanwhile, telecom services have been partially restored in Gaza after the entry of a limited quantity of fuel through UNRWA. Earlier, Israel's war cabinet agrees regular supply of fuel into Gaza. The cabinet has agreed to allow 140,000 litres of fuel into Gaza every 2 days after a request from Washington amid acute shortages that threatened aid deliveries and communications in Gaza. Earlier, Israel said it had agreed to allow 2 fuel tankers a day into the territory. The agreement also outlines that a further 20,000 litres would be allowed to power the telecom companies to prevent further blackouts.
The War Management Cabinet responded to a special request by the United States to provide 2 tankers a day for the wastewater treatment facilities in the Gaza Strip, which are facing collapse due to the lack of electricity and the lack of ability to operate the sewage and water systems operated by UNRWA.
Now, Israel's PM's national advisor also said that Israel would not agree to a ceasefire in Gaza until a significant number of hostages held by Hamas are released.
Only when a large number of our hostages are released, we will agree to a ceasefire, which will be limited and short because we will then continue towards achieving our battle goals.
And Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan met with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz on Friday, where discussion on the Israel-Hamas conflict took the center stage. Both the leaders were meeting in hopes to find common ground on trade, migration and defense, despite views that are far apart on ongoing crisis in Ukraine and Israel. During a joint press conference, German Chancellor showed his support to Israel and said that Israel has a right to self-defense.
Unsere Nachbarregion ist, kann das, was dort geschieht.
Israel has a right to self-defense. It was a terrible, brutal attack carried out by Hamas. On children, on the elderly, on peace activists, on those who have campaigned for reconciliation between Israel and the citizens of Gaza. For example, on young people celebrating. And that is why it is unacceptable that there is still a great danger of rockets being fired at Israel. And that is what the right of self-defense is all about. At the same time, it is of course important to use every opportunity to reduce the number of civilian casualties, and to bear this in mind. In everything we do, we should act accordingly.
2016 eine, wie ich finde, gute Vereinbarung getroffen.
While Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan called for humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. Listen in.
We also need to discuss another important point. How can we solve the problem? In other words, a humanitarian ceasefire. To what extent can Turkey make a contribution? Can Germany make a contribution? And how can we take these steps together? That is important now. And are we prepared to do this or not?
The United States announced new sanctions against Kataib's Saeed al-Shuhada KSS and his Secretary General Hashim Finyan Rahim al-Saraji, designating them as specially designated global terrorists. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in a statement said that KSS terrorist activity has threatened the lives of both U.S. and global coalition to defeat ISIS personnel in Iraq and Syria. 6 individuals affiliated with Kataib Hezbollah group have also been sanctioned by the U.S. Treasury Department. The International Court of Justice has ordered Azerbaijan to let ethnic Armenians who fled the Nagorno-Karabakh region in September return and ensure the safety of the remaining Armenians in the enclave. However, Azerbaijan's foreign ministry says it has already pledged to ensure all residents' safety and security regardless of their origin, and also that it has not forced the ethnic Armenians to leave Karabakh. The measures are part of 2 competing legal disputes between Armenia and Azerbaijan before the ICJ. Both states have accused each other of violating a UN anti-discrimination treaty. Moving on, Ukraine and the United States will hold a special military industry conference in December. Kiev is ramping up efforts to produce its own weapons amid concerns that supplies from the West might be faltering. In his evening address, Zelensky said Kiev and Washington were actively progressing on the joint arms production issue.
During my visit to Washington, President Biden and I reached specific agreements on actions we can take together. This will undoubtedly strengthen both Americans and Ukrainians as well as our partners. Collaborative production always strengthens. In December of this year, a special conference will take place, bringing together Ukrainian and American industries, government officials, and other state actors, all those involved in organizing our defense.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Friday that Russia's economic growth was set to exceed 3% in 2023, slightly better than previous official forecasts. Russia's economy shrank 2.1% in 2022 as the West imposed sweeping sanctions against Russia over conflict in Ukraine. Last month, the central bank estimated 2023 GDP growth at 2.2 to 2.7%.
The chairman of the government has reported that for the last month, the economic growth was 5.5% of GDP. By the end of the year, it will be over 3%. We carefully said this all the time. It will be 3.7%, 2.5%, 2.8%. Now we confidently say it will be over 3%.
Чтобы это не выглядело как зазнайство какое-то.
Now, Finland ordered the closure of 4 border crossings with Russia as the government sought to stem an influx of asylum seekers that it says was caused by Moscow. The Finnish border guard said that barriers would be put up at 4 out of 9 border crossings with Russia at Valima, Nuijama, Imatra and Nirala in its southeast and will remain closed for all traffic until February 18 next year. The government has accused Moscow of sending migrants to the crossings to retaliate for its decision to boost defense cooperation with the US. According to the border guard, about 300 asylum seekers have entered Finland this week, most of whom are from Iraq, Yemen, Somalia and Syria. On the other hand, the Kremlin said that Finland is making a big mistake and that the move will destroy their bilateral relations. Now, Yoon Suk-yeol, president of South Korea, and Fumio Kishida, Prime Minister of Japan, announced on Friday that they will work together on clean energy supply chains and quantum computing as well as other cutting-edge technologies. The roundtable held at Stanford University on the sidelines of the APEC summit was the latest in a series of efforts to strengthen relations between the three countries, which have been in deep difficulty for some time. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida said their relationship was in deep difficulty until they embarked on a campaign to improve it, meeting more than half a dozen times this year. Both the countries said the science and technology will be a key part of their relationship in the future.
Until
early this year, the Japan-Korea relationship was in deep difficulty. However, in March, President Yoon and I decided to resume shuttle diplomacy between our two countries. The resolve of ourselves as top leaders drastically transformed the relationship between Japan and the ROK.
All right, we'll slip into a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India Live. 6.7 magnitude earthquake strikes Philippines, 6 die, 2 missing. Chhat Puja festival being celebrated with religious fervor in India. And another day, another record for tennis legend Rohan Bopanna.
Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution. This series is going to tell stories of such change makers. Watch Change Makers on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. UN Human Rights is closely monitoring the ongoing conflict between Myanmar's military government and the anti-military armed groups. Several hundred soldiers have also reportedly chosen to lay down their weapons, and thousands of people from Myanmar are fleeing to take refuge from the fighting. Addressing a press conference, UN Human Rights spokesperson said that all parties should strictly respect international human rights law, particularly to protect civilians.
It is essential that all those captured are treated humanely. Reprisals are absolutely forbidden. Individual soldiers are not collectively responsible for crimes and human rights violations that have been committed by the military. Amidst rapidly changing circumstances on the ground, it is imperative that all parties strictly respect international human rights law and international humanitarian law, particularly to protect civilians.
A magnitude 6.7 earthquake struck the southern Philippines on Friday, killing at least 6 while injuring dozens and damaging buildings. Local disaster officials say search operation is going on for 2 other missing people. The offshore quake struck off Mindanao Island on Friday afternoon at a depth of 60 kilometers. The Philippines lies within the Pacific Ring of Fire, where volcanic activity and earthquakes are common. And the efforts to evacuate 40 trapped construction workers in a tunnel in northern Indian state of Uttarakhand have entered its 7th day. Some progress has been seen as heavy-duty drilling machine penetrated 24 meters of rubble on the Char Dham route. The authorities have intensified the operation. An additional auger machine has been airlifted from Indore. The backup machine is expected to arrive at the accident site by Saturday. The new machine can drill at the speed of 5 meters per hour. The trapped workers have light and receive oxygen, food, water and medicines via a pipe and can communicate via walkie-talkie. The men have been stuck in the hillside tunnel in Uttarakhand state since Sunday morning after it caved in, but are safe, the authorities say. Under Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra, Hamara Sankalp Viksit Bharat program was organized in Simdega district in the Indian state of Jharkhand. The objective of the Sankalp Yatra is to extend the benefits of various welfare schemes of the Government of India to the general public. The program witnessed great enthusiasm among the locals participating in the program. The people present during the program took a pledge to make India a self-reliant and developed nation by 2047. During the program, successful beneficiaries of various schemes shared their experiences under Meri Kahani Meri Zubani and expressed their gratitude to the Prime Minister of India for this initiative. A quiz competition and other interesting plays were also organized. And Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra, launched by India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 15th November, saw a huge participation in Khunti district of India's Jharkhand. During the program, the Sankalp Yatra vehicle travelled to various parts of the district. A large number of people gathered to listen to the information being given and also shared the benefits they received through various schemes. During this period, a health checkup camp and the registration of new beneficiaries under Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana were also organized. All right, now let's take a look at other stories making news today. The air quality in the capital of India, Delhi, is in very poor category on Saturday morning. The air quality index stood at 398. After 3 days of remaining in the severe category, Delhi's air quality index showed a slight improvement as it entered the very poor category on Saturday. The Election Commission of India provides a facility of home voting to senior citizens aged 80 and above and those with 40% disabilities to cast their vote from home using the home voting facility. A polling team comprised of 2 polling officials with a videographer and a security person visit the elector's house and get the elector to vote on the postal ballot, maintaining complete secrecy of the vote. The much-awaited Indian festival of Chhat Puja is being celebrated with religious fervour. Today is the second day, which is known as Kharna. After performing puja this evening, devotees will observe a waterless fast for 36 hours. As per Indian mythology, Chhat Puja festival is dedicated to the sun god and his sister Chhati Maiya, the daughter of Lord Brahma. Now, just hours after ChatGPT maker OpenAI CEO Sam Altman was ousted by the company's board, the news came the company's co-founder and president Greg Brockman would also be quitting the role. Brockman announced his departure on X. OpenAI earlier also announced that Brockman was supposed to step down from the board's chairman role. Earlier, for Sam Altman, the company said that the board lost confidence in Altman's ability to lead. It was also told that OpenAI's chief technology officer Meera Murati will now serve as interim CEO, adding that it will conduct a formal search for a permanent CEO. After joining OpenAI in 2018 as the vice president of its AI and partnerships, Meera was promoted to senior vice president of research, product and partnerships in 2020. She took over as OpenAI's chief technology officer in 2022. SpaceX is going to launch its next generation Starship rocket system into space on Saturday after it was delayed by a day to replace a piece of hardware. Launch is scheduled to take place from SpaceX launch site on the Gulf of Mexico near Boca Chica, Texas. SpaceX is aiming to make a second attempt at launching Starship into space after a failed attempt in April. The scheduled flight is one of many crucial tests in SpaceX development campaign, which is to build a fully reusable rocket capable of sending some 150 tons of satellites into space, as well as humans to the moon and Mars. All right, sports action now will start with tennis. Rohan Bopanna becomes the oldest player ever to reach the semi-finals of the ADP World Tour finals. Bopanna and partner Matthew Ebden beat reigning Wimbledon champions Neil Skupski and Wesley Koolhof 6-4, 7-5 to advance to the last four stage. Incidentally, Rohan and Ebden had beaten the same opponents to win the Indian Wells title this year, which made Bopanna the oldest ATP Masters champion at 43. With the Men's World Cup coming to its conclusion on 19th November at India's Ahmedabad, the closing ceremony will be a star-studded event. Cricket fever is at its peak and the Indian fans are buzzing with excitement ahead of the crucial showdown against Australia in the World Cup summit clash. DD India's Tapas Bhattacharya, he spoke to the fans and they opened up about the excitement ahead of the super clash. Let's listen.
It's India versus Australia, and it doesn't get any bigger than this. It's the summit clash of the ICC Cricket World Cup, and it's going to happen here at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. To talk about this match, I have with me some of the fans who are absolutely ecstatic for this match.
The way India is playing in this World Cup, they have already won almost 10 matches. So this is the final match, and people of India and entire the world will see this match. It's a very fantastic match will happen.
We are very happy that we are seeing India in finals. And to be frank, everyone is going to enjoy this match. Yeah, there should be a little bit of doubt, but we know very well that India is going to win this match, and everyone are very happy. So cheers to India.
Let's go support the match.
विराट कोहली और इंडिया जीतेगा इस बार.
You see the excitement is palpable out here. Indian fans are cheering up for Team India. They believe that India has the potential to create history after 2011. This is the first time India will be aiming to bring the glory and the World Cup here in this particular place. With camera person Mukesh Shukla, this is Tapas Bhattacharya for DD India from Ahmedabad.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.